I'm Amber Davies and welcome to Call to Stage. This is the space where musical theatre takes centre stage. From unforgettable backstage stories with incredible special guests to insights from my life and my theatre journey. We're leaving it all on the mic every single week, so let's jump in. So please welcome to the stage, Carrie Hope Fletcher. Woo! Here she is! Sit! I know how much of a treat this is for everyone, and honestly, I'm just over the moon that
I almost did a Jennifer Lawrence up those stairs.
Right, so pick any show you've ever done. What's your pre-show ritual for that specific character?
Oh God, see, I think I just have my own pre-show ritual, and that is to be the first person to get into costume and then waltz around all of the dressing rooms annoying everybody else.
I like that though. It's kind of like
I get super nervous before like any show, so I feel like if I just annoy everyone else, it like takes the pressure off. Yeah, and also I annoy everyone else by going, "Are you as nervous as I am? Are you as nervous as I am? Are you as nervous as I am?" And then make everyone nervous, so we all go on stage just as nervous as each other.
That's just so hysterical, because if we look at me and you outside, then I was shitting myself. I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing a live show? Like, I'm petrified, but I feel fine now, so it's fine.
Yeah, once you're up here, it's fine.
Yeah, I just think we could have picked any industry, but we did this to ourselves.
We should have been plumbers.
We should have been. We would have earned more money, as you said earlier. Yeah. Now, you started very young, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Child actress.
Yes.
Éponine at the age of 9.
7.
7?
Yeah.
Wikipedia was wrong.
I know, I'm so sorry, babe. Failed you.
Never trust Wikipedia, guys, ever.
Yeah, I was 7 when I was little Éponine, and then I was 9 when I did Chitty, and then 11 when I did Mary Poppins.
So, what previously, like, how did you even audition for that?
I think with Les Mis, it was an open audition, I seem to remember.
Okay.
And it was one of those things where, like, loads of kids went. Because, I mean, when you're a kid, all that's really required of you is to say the right line and look a bit cute. Yeah. It's kind of it.
And sing in tune, kind of.
Yeah. And singing not so horribly that, you know, people leave.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it was an open call. Might have to check with my mum on that one, can't quite remember. But yeah, and I remember going in one afternoon, it was freezing, and went into the Palace Theatre, which that was all, I was like, life made. I'm in the Palace Theatre, like, can't believe my luck. Like, if I go home and they tell me I'm terrible and I'm never going to perform on a West End stage, I've been in the Palace Theatre, don't worry about it, I'm thrilled. And I remember going in and doing the audition, and they lined us all up at the end of the day, and they were like, Éponine, Cosette, Éponine, Cosette, Éponine, Cosette. And I was like, have I just been told I've got a part in a West End show? And I ran out, told my mum, like, so excited. And my mum didn't believe me. My mum thought I'd heard wrong. She's got it wrong. She's just making things up. She's telling me a lovely story about how she's, you know, she thinks she's got it and she wishes she got it. And so she's just manifesting for that for herself. But no, I actually, my mum went back into the audition room just to check that I was telling the truth and that I had got it. But yeah, I mean, my brother went to Sylvia Young's theatre school. My brother's 7 years older than me. And I think I just saw him having the time of his life and loving, because he was in Oliver when he was a kid.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so talented family.
Yeah, I mean, we just love musicals.
Yeah.
Like, we've always loved musicals. It's always been so much like a fibre of like our being. Like, there's always been all of the movies, the musical movies played at Christmas time, or just through, I say Christmas time, that's an excuse, all year round.
And that includes Disney for you, doesn't it?
Oh, God, yeah.
We all know Carrie loves a bit of Disney, don't we?
I really do.
She loves it.
I thought that was such a secret.
How did you cope with doing those shows when you were younger? Like, that's not a normal childhood.
No,
you know?
It's really not. And I think I just wasn't aware of how unusual that was, because it was just what I did every day. I kind of didn't really know any different. And I also was just so fearless. I think you are when you're a kid. If you don't really understand the gravitas of like walking out onto a West End stage, and that there's literally like 2,000 people sat there all watching you perform, you don't think of that when you're 7 years old. No. You're just like, oh my God, I get a day off from school. Like, you're just having the time of your life.
Did you miss a lot of school?
Yeah, I mean, a relative amount. If you are going to miss loads, then they bring in a tutor, so you don't get away from school. Okay. You still have to do all of the schooling. But yeah, I did, especially with Mary Poppins, because we opened that in Bristol. So I was away for 3 months for the first 3 months of secondary school. So that was absolutely terrifying, walking back into school as an 11-year-old, being like,
I'm a star.
You've all made friends, and I'm just this weird kid who does musical theatre. And hello.
So just to confirm, as a child, you did Mary Poppins, Chitty, and Les Mis.
Yeah.
That's wild. Can we have a round of applause for that? That's crazy stuff. I did nothing. So on that, you did no training officially, right?
No, I didn't. But I feel like that was a weird kind of training.
Of course.
Because I think I would have loved to have gone to drama school, but life just didn't kind of take me that way. And I was all geared up to start applying, and then other things just happened. I started writing this musical with my brother, and I then dropped out of sixth form for this musical movie that we were writing, and we ended up spending like 3-4 years workshopping this musical, and we ended up with Michael Gracie, who directed Greatest Showman. He was like on board to direct it, and is still like, it's so funny because I talk about the musical as if it's like a thing that's never going to happen. It's been like, 15 years and it's not happened, but it's still one of those things that we bring up and like talk about, like, oh yeah, whenever that happens, like in the future at some point. It's just one of those things that got pushed back and further back and just never sort of happened. But as a result of it, I ended up meeting a producer who liked my voice, and he was like, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like, musical theatre is like the one and only thing that I've always dreamed of doing. But I just missed the boat on applying for that year's drama school applications. So he was like, well, I've got some contacts. Can I put you in touch with some agents? I then toted myself across London to I think it was like 12 different agents across about 3 weeks. They all said no, which is probably the most rejection I've ever had in like such a short space of time in my life. So that was terrifying. Yeah. And one agent said they were really enthusiastic about me being a presenter. And that's like terrifying to me. Being myself on a stage is so scary to me.
Well, thank you for doing this then today.
You're so welcome. You really owe me. No, it's pleasure. It's an honour to be here. But it is one of the scariest things for me, like being myself on stage and not having a character to hide behind. So presenting was just like out the question. No. I was like, thank you so much, but no. And they were really kind, and they said, we'll keep you on file. And I was like, that's just a really polite way of letting me down. Yeah. But then 4 months later, they called me up and said, we've actually got this musical movie that's come in, and we don't have like a musical theatre department at the moment, but we're building one, and we've got this agent coming in from, he is musical, like Mr. Musical Theatre. And if depending on, how that audition goes, we'll consider signing you.
Oh, wow.
And it went well. I didn't get it, but the feedback must have been good because they took a chance. And they said, okay, we'll sign you. And what are your dream roles? And I said, Éponine, Les Mis. That's like been the holy grail for the whole of my life. And they were like, great, auditions are coming up in a month. We'll put you up for it.
And you booked it?
4 auditions later, I got it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I mean, it sounds like, thank you so much for the applause. It sounds impressive, but it is one of those things where it could have so easily just not happened. Yeah. Because it is like, I do really feel like stars aligned, because if you look at all of the people who have played any part in Les Mis, because the show's been going for so long, you never know who's next, because every Éponine looks and sounds so vastly different from the last person.
I think that.
So, like, what were the chances that at that time they were looking for someone who sounded like me? They had other people in the cast who like matched the way that I looked. Our heights were all the right height, all of that kind of stuff.
The jigsaw, as they say, the jigsaw.
The fact that it all worked out in my favour was, it's like stars aligned, fate.
And are you still represented by them now?
Yeah.
And I think one of them's here today.
Curtis Brown.
Curtis Brown, where are you? We're actually repped by the same team. That's why it was so easy to get her today. Is it true that you're the only actress to play...
I don't know if this is true.
I think
Everyone says this. I'm happy to go along with it.
So rumour has it, Carrie is the only actress to ever play Young Éponine, Éponine and Fantine. That's impressive. That is so impressive.
I don't know if it's true.
I think you should change your bio on Instagram.
Let's just say it is.
change it on Instagram to the one actress in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you did the 30-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
It says, just online, that you are... Don't listen to anything I say. It says online that you were the longest running Éponine.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that one's true.
Why? Who is it?
I don't know, but I don't think it's me.
I think it is you.
I don't think it's me.
I think it is. You know, I saw you play Éponine.
Yes, because
Jade was
your
in it.
sister was in it with me.
Carrie worked with my sister Jade. Well, you've worked with her twice.
Twice, yeah. We did Les Mis and Chitty together.
And Chitty. And I was talking to my mum about it today on our way in, and my mum said, do you remember... You're right, mum. In your leopard print. I remember being completely blown away by your performance. Just the way, you stood on stage and you were so raw and real.
It's that lack of training, mate.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That rawness. It's no training, that's what that is.
Well, it really helped. I really believed your performance,
Thanks,
you know? And it was the way that the material just flew out of you. Was it a hard song to sing on my own?
I feel like I'd been training my entire life to play that role because that song was always like my go-to in the shower, in front of the bathroom mirror, at any given opportunity. If someone was like, "Hey, sing a song on my own," I'd jump straight into it. So I feel like that song was usually when you go into a show, if you don't know the material very well, you've got to sing it into your body until it gets to a point where it's breathing. With that song, I felt like my first audition was I'd already been playing the part for 10 years.
That's amazing. That's the key. Sing it into your body.
Maybe not for 10 years.
No.
never do anything.
How much did Les Mis as a franchise change your life?
Oh my God, I feel like that's such a big question because it's my favourite musical. It's my absolute all-time favourite musical. I love it so much. And I remember my mum always tells the story about how she won tickets to the 10th anniversary, the Royal Albert Hall thing. When that was happening, the show was still happening in London, and she won tickets to go and see it in London. I was 3 years old, and she, don't know what possessed her, but she took me. I fell asleep in the interval.
Standard.
Yeah. But, we listened to the soundtrack. I had a VHS tape of the Royal Albert Hall concert version. I wore it out. I loved it so, so much. And it was the Holy Grail. Éponine was just the part for me. I loved it so much. And I remember getting that call to say that I'd got the part. And I don't think to this day I've ever cried as much as I cried that day. And calling up my brother was the one, because I didn't tell my brother I was auditioning for it, because I'd never like to tell anyone I'm auditioning for
Jinx
anything.
it.
Yeah, just in case. Well, because then you've got to go to them and be like, didn't get it. So my brother knew how much it meant to me to play that part. So I remember calling up my brother and being like, Tom, I got it. Tom? Tom, you there? He was just crying on the other end of the phone.
Oh my God.
He was like, I'll talk to you in a second.
That's broke my heart. Can we talk about Wednesday Addams?
Yeah.
Do you know when I shut my eyes and I think of Carrie Hope Fletcher, I just see you in that outfit, in the costume? Yeah.
I feel like I'm the complete opposite to Wednesday Addams. I remember when I got it, everyone was like, you're too happy. You're too
You need
perky.
to tone it down.
Yeah, you're too perky to play that part.
What was the audition process like for that?
That was a weird one, because I was in Chitty at the time of auditioning, and the... so basically, rewind. 2014, I think, Andrew Lipper was coming to London. Andrew Lipper wrote the score to the Addams Family, and he was coming to London and was doing a concert here. When this was the St. James, not the Old Palace. He was doing a concert here, and he was just searching around for people to come and sing in his show, and my name was put forward. And my agents very kindly, sent him my West End Live Éponine performance and was like, "Will she do?" And he was like, "Yeah," quite passively, "Yeah, she's great. Just give her pulled from the Addams Family." And I was entrusted with that one song, and that was it. Everyone else had 2 or 3 songs to sing in the concert. I just had pulled. That was my sole responsibility. I sang it, and it was such a lovely day. And he's such a nice person. He just loves what he does, and he loves his music, and he's just very fun. And he came to me after the show and was like, look, if Addams Family ever comes to the UK, I want you to be my Wednesday. And I was like, oh, how lovely, but you don't mean that. Like, people say stuff like that all the time in this industry. I was like, I'm taking that with a very large pinch of salt, but cool. Thank you so much. It means a lot in this moment, but I won't hold you to it. And then 2 years later, was doing Chitty, and the producer of Chitty knocked on my door. We were in Wimbledon, and he knocked on my dressing room door and was like, hey, really weird thing. We've got the rights to do the Addams Family, but Andrew Lipper says that he wants to see you before he sees anybody else for the role. Wow. And I was like, oh my God, you actually, you remembered me, oh my God. So yeah, we were in Canterbury the next week, and I had to go from Canterbury to London to audition. I don't think Andrew Lipper was in the room, but it was filmed to send to him.
But he probably trusted you anyway.
And I also think he trusted the team to, you know, like
get it right,
get the right vibe. So yeah, I had to do a couple of scenes, couple of songs. You know, he wasn't in the room, but everybody else was. It was one of those ones where you walk in and it's like a panel of 20. You're like, cool, okay, it's not terrifying at all. And then yeah, it was one of the quickest turnarounds. I think it was like a couple of days later. I was still in Canterbury when I got the call before a show to say that I'd got Wednesday.
That's really unusual.
Really
to
unusual.
Be offered a couple of days later.
Yeah, usually you've got to wait like
a month,
weeks to months. Yeah. But the real like icing on the cake was that after I left Chitty, because Chitty was an 18-month tour and I just slotted in for the middle 6 months. After I left, I'd left my best friend Scott Page to carry on with the tour.
Yes.
And he called me up a few weeks later and was like, hey babe, do you want to go on tour again? Because he'd just got cover Uncle Fester
so you
in the show.
met Scott on Chitty?
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You are like the pair, the duo, aren't you?
From the get-go. He's one of those people where I think we were in a rehearsal room, because again, he'd been doing the show for like 5-6 months, and we were finally in a rehearsal room together, and I think something weird was said. We both just kind of clocked each other's eyes, and I was like, oh, we're best friends. We both realised that was a weird thing. No one else realised. That's it. We are now bonded for life.
And he loves Disney just as much as you.
He does indeed, yes. He does.
Talking about walking into an audition and there was a panel of 20.
Yeah.
How do you cope with the audition? Are you good?
No, I'm terrible.
Yeah,
I'm
same.
the worst.
I'm awful.
Yeah. I can't be trusted in an audition either, because as soon as there's a silence, I have to fill it.
I know.
So I end up just saying stuff. I just say stuff. And it's the worst thing in the world, because then and it's when people go, so do you have any questions for us? I can't just say no.
Yeah.
I can't just say no. I also have
so
to
when would we be starting?
Yes, actually, this line, I need to go deeper into, and I think they hate me, because then I'm in there for an extra 20 minutes, and they're like, God, we were just being polite.
I call my agent all the time and I'm like, I sang really awfully, but I did make them laugh. So I might get a recall.
That's what matters.
Yeah, I made them laugh.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to get a job.
You've got it, yeah.
Now let's talk about Heathers.
Yeah.
Do you know, I've never seen it.
What?
I know. We've got shocked faces everywhere. I know, I need to go and see it. Is it still on?
Is it still on? Has it just finished?
Closed yesterday.
Mate.
Is there going to be another cast?
Probably.
In New York. I'll have a think about that one. Original Veronica.
Original UK Veronica, yeah.
Where who was...
Barrett Wilbert-Weed did it originally.
In America?
Yes.
Okay, original UK cast.
Yeah. Although I think Kristen Bell did the original workshop for it.
What?
Yeah, she was the proper OG Veronica, I think.
That is an amazing fact.
Yeah.
How was it?
It's one of the best and most terrifying jobs I've ever done.
Okay.
The best because it was, I mean, Heathers is just Heathers. It's like one of the greatest shows ever written. And I was a massive fan before I got into the show. I remember Rob Houchin introducing it to me. We were Éponine and Marius together in Les Mis, and he texted me one day. I was sat in my dressing room, like upstairs. He was downstairs, didn't take the trip to come and see me, just text me. And he was like, I'd love to hear you sing this. And it was Fight For Me from Heathers. And I was like, yeah, I'll take on that challenge. So I covered it on my YouTube channel. And then 3 years later, got the call from my agent to say that it was coming to the UK. And I was like, oh my God, you have to get me in. Like, I love that show so much. But I look and sound so different from Barrett Wilbert-Weed, and you just never know what they're going to want. Do they want like an absolute carbon copy of what they've already had, so it's just like following the same blueprint? Do they want something different for a different audience? Like, you literally just never know.
Also, you are a renowned name in this industry, so it was more like...
In my head, that doesn't mean anything, because I always think that integrity has to come first. And if I'm not right for a role, I'm not right for it, and I don't want to be shoehorned into something, and I also don't want to feel like I've been shoehorned into something, and I feel like I've got a good I think I do. Some people in the audience might disagree. But I think I've got a good gauge on what I'm not right for.
Yeah.
And what I could be right for if they're willing to shift the gears a little bit. And I felt like Veronica was one of those. I was like, either they're going to think, oh my God, this is like a new direction, but it's perfect. Or they're going to think, this just isn't going to work. And all of my auditions were over self-tape. And I did the stupidest thing. They gave me like, I think it was like 13 pages worth of script. But what I'd missed on the email was they said, pick a scene.
Oh my God.
No, I just did all 13 pages of script. It's probably why I got the part. They were like, God, she's gone to so much effort. We should probably just give her the part.
Did you learn it all?
No, I had it taped up next to the thing.
I do
with
that.
Scott Page reading in as JD, the greatest JD there will ever be, Scott Page. Because it was 13 pages. I was like, they need the self-tape by 10 a.m. tomorrow. How am I going to learn it all?
I called my agent and said, they're cheeky asking for that.
I was like, I want this part so much.
So
I'm just going
much.
to do whatever I can.
You know, being original cast for it, so it'd already been workshopped, or could you collaborate in the room when...
Yeah, there was...
Do you know what I mean?
It was a strange process because the show had already been done off-Broadway at New World Stages with a phenomenal cast. There was a bootleg that I definitely hadn't watched. I watched it religiously, like every night. And it had a lot of views as well. Like, it was a well-loved and well-watched bootleg.
Okay.
And they kind of, when we were in the room, we had 3 weeks to rehearse it, which is not a lot of time to get a show up on its feet, like from day one of rehearsals to being on stage in front of an audience.
Sing it into your voice.
So 3 weeks just wasn't a lot. And it kind of felt like they just wanted to do a carbon copy of what they'd already done because they also knew what worked. You know, just do what we did before. It's tried and tested. Let's just do that. But then the more we were in the room, the more they kind of realized that it was going to be a much more collaborative process because we were all just having so much fun with it. And I remember when we were I think we were in previews, and there's a scene where it's right at the end of Act 1, and I had Chris Chung and Dom Anderson on as Curtain Ram, and they have to strip down to their underwear. Really
Love
hard,
that.
really
Why
hard job.
haven't I seen it?
And
sorry, Ben.
and I remember Kevin Murphy, who's one of the writers, he said to Dom Anderson, he was like, hey, just try this line tonight. Because there was like a little bit of wiggle room for maybe a little bit of ad-libbing. And he was like, hey, just try this line tonight. And then Kevin came to me and said, Dom's going to say something tonight that's not in the script. Have something ready to say back to him. It's of this kind of like vibe. So I was like, oh my God, the pressure. And I remember spending the whole of Act 1 thinking about it. And we said it, and it got the biggest laugh. And it's now in the script.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I can't, and I say this like so proud of it. I can't remember what the lines are. But it's something to do. Oh, it's he takes the tie off. And I was like, oh, I kind of like the tie. And he goes, my mom bought it for me.
And you did that?
Yeah, and that's now in the script. Yeah. So every time I've seen Heather since, I'm always like, oh,
that was me.
Yeah.
You know, there was such a massive fan base when it came to Heather's.
Huge.
Did you have any idea? It had like, you know, the fan base 6 had. It had that effect.
Yeah, and I think it came from the bootleg. I think it.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think especially from the UK because it was such an American show. It's set in Ohio.
Yeah.
It's like a proper 80s American cult classic. So why a UK audience would have any interest in it, it's one of those sort of weird phenomenons. But I think because it's such a good show and the bootleg was so watched, I think it was very anticipated coming over here. But yeah, Andy Fickman, our director, who is phenomenal, he's one of the funniest people I've ever met. He tried to prepare us, and he kept saying, he was like, the audience is the fifth Beatle. The audience is the fifth Beatle. That was always his catchphrase. And he was like, it's going to be like a rock concert. And we were like, yeah, all right, like... How much of a rock concert can it actually be? Like, it's whatever, we're in the other palace. Like, it's a relatively small, intimate theatre. Like, it's gonna chill out, we're cool. Like, honestly, the first time I said Dear Diary, I couldn't hear the next 4 lines. But I was saying them. I couldn't hear what I was saying because everyone was just like, Wah!
Is anyone a Heather's fan here? Yeah.
One person.
Well.
But when they put in the song I Say No, it's one of my favourite anecdotes that I've got because I was so scared. They gave it to me on the Monday, had to go in the show on the Friday. Very quick turnaround to learn this brand new song and to like block it and stage it for everyone else to learn all the harmonies and light it and whatever. And I remember I spent the whole show just thinking about this song and just trying to hype myself up for it. And there's a song right before it called Lifeboat, where I'm just stood in the background watching the gorgeous Sophie Isaac sing this amazing, like, big belty song. And I was just thinking in my head, like, you are a drug, you are a poison pill, just going through the lyrics in my head. And I just had Jamie Moscato lean over and go, Carrie, I've not heard you breathe in such a long time. You've got to chill out. You have to calm down. And we get to the right before the song starts, and the people in the audience, like the fans of Heathers, know this show backwards. So any deviation from like what they know the show to be and what they know the soundtrack to be, like they know the next song isn't this new song I Say No. They're waiting for the next song to happen, which is in like a scene's time. So the opening chords of this song start, and there was a girl sat in the second row dressed as Veronica Sawyer, and I honestly thought she was going to choke on her own tongue. She went and like grabbed her friends next to her. And it was great because it took the pressure off me, because I genuinely thought we were about to have a cardiac arrest. So, you know.
Show stop.
I started just worrying about her instead of worrying about my lyrics.
I'm just going to say, normally when I do these sessions, I have someone there that's giving me a countdown, and I can't see you, James. How many minutes have I got? This is a live show for you. Amazing. Okay.
We've got time, babe.
We've got so much time, because I've got a juicy question next.
Oh, God. It's about Cinderella by any chance?
Cinderella. Look, we don't have to go there if you don't want to.
Let's go there, babe. Let's go there.
I didn't want to be sued or anything, you know. How disappointing was it?
It's hard, because I do look back on the show with so much fondness because of the people that I met, and I think I've erased a lot of the bad. And it's so funny. I recently met up with Georgina Castle and gorgeous
her.
Gloria, who was in Hades Town, like just gorgeous, like wonderful people who worked on that show. And I was in a dressing room with the both of them at Magic at the Musicals, and it's so funny because me and Gloria ended up sat for a very long time chatting. And we were both kind of like didn't want to mention it at first, and then once we got into it, we couldn't stop talking about it. And there was so much stuff that we had forgotten that the other person was like almost like filling us in on. I think it was almost like sort of trauma, yeah. Like I've blocked that out. I've forgotten that happened because I don't want to remember that happened. But yeah, I think it's so tough because, like I said, it was a fun process backstage, but it was everything that was happening sort of outside of the building and higher up that then sort of trickled down. Just a lot of sort of bad feeling, a lot of things that happened that were just completely avoidable and kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, like finding out on social media. Yeah,
like what? That's avoidable. Let's not do that.
But you know what I love? I love that you remember it now with just the fond memories. Yeah,
and I think that's... I don't want to feel like I wasted 3 years, because I was like from the moment
you were from the get-go.
From the get-go, yeah. From the moment that we did the first workshop, literally on this stage, we did the first workshop for Cinderella.
Maybe it's cursed.
Yeah.
No.
Don't say that.
Can I just say, I saw the show. I didn't see you in it, but I loved it.
It was a fun show, and I think it came at like the right moment, because
it did.
Right after COVID, everyone just needed something fun and flamboyant and silly that didn't take itself too seriously, and that's just what it was. I don't think it was ever meant to be like highbrow Shakespeare. You know what I mean? It was always meant to be very silly. But yeah, it was just a lot of stuff behind the scenes.
I just think it goes up, miscommunication, and then the talent at collateral damage.
Yeah, and
it's always that case.
Yeah, and it's also not just the talent, it's like everyone in that building. I remember turning into the road that the Gillian Lynn is on, and just seeing like all of the departments just sat outside. I was like, everyone all right? They were like, yeah, we just can't bring ourselves to go in just yet. So everyone would just be lined up eating their lunch, like looking up at the theatre, just going, I don't think I can bring myself to go in right now.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
We had it at Bring It On. We got told before a 2-day show that we were closing, and I think I cried more over that than any breakup. It's because I care about my career and I didn't care about my ex-boyfriends.
And that's the way it should be.
And that is the way it should be. But it hurts. It is like a breakup, because you are so invested in the character that you're playing, and you put so much time and energy into it, to then be told, you know.
I feel like I had a slightly opposite experience though, because we had endured so much up until that point. It was like when we got that when we finally got told via social media, all that rubbish, when we finally did find out, we were sort of like, there's going to be an end to it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I see where you're going with that. So you're going on the Calamity Jane tour.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Are you in rehearsals yet?
We start a week tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
One more week of freedom.
Yep.
Thank you for being here on your last
Oh my
Sunday.
God, don't be silly. It's like my last hurrah.
Oh my gosh. Now, I want to talk about how incredible I think you are. You've just become a new mum.
I have.
To Mabel Hope Montague. Is it amazing?
I'm knackered, mate. I am so tired. No, it is amazing. It's the hardest and greatest and most rewarding thing I've ever done. And it's terrifying on a day, because it honestly feels like someone's just taken my heart out and now my heart's got like arms and legs and is just like out in the world. Genuinely feels like that. And it's so funny, I was actually I was talking about it yesterday, that when I was pregnant, I felt like indestructible.
Okay.
I thought I was going to feel like really vulnerable, because you're pregnant and you are like vulnerable. But I remember just feeling like this like power woman. And now that and I think it was because I had full control over like protecting this baby. And now that she's outside, I'm like, oh, I have to just leave her every now and again. And I have to leave her with people that, aren't my husband. And they're people that you trust. Doesn't my parents, his parents, like people that I love and trust. But even so, it's like leaving your actual physical heart outside of your body and going, bye, I'm off for the day.
I've never heard it be said like that. And it's actually heartbreaking.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's absolutely terrifying. And the worst thing is when, people think they're being kind by showing her to me on FaceTime, and then she sees me and goes, and she cries, and I'm like, no, it's better off that she didn't see me.
Yeah. How, when you found out you were pregnant, was a little bit of you terrified of, okay, I've got to put my career on hold?
Yeah.
Because that is like a massive conversation for me. Like, when do you have children in this industry?
Yeah, there's never a good time, I don't think. And I think it's the same with anyone in any working person. There's never going to be a good time, especially if you love what you do and you love your career. But I was in auditions for something as I got pregnant, and it would have, had it gone my way and had I got it, it would have been a tight squeeze anyway, because basically, I'm rambling. The show was going to start, I think it was this autumn.
Okay.
So around the time that like Calamity Jane would be starting. So I was like, yeah, that's doable. And then all of a sudden the dates for the show moved up, and it was going to be opening like 3 weeks after I was due to give birth.
Oh God.
So I had to pull myself out of the running. And I was like, I don't actually get to know whether this would have gone my way or not. And that I found that so difficult, because I was like, if I'm not right for the part and it was a no, whatever, that's fine. I can take that. That's fine. But it's the not knowing now that I've just got to live with, which is horrible. But, as soon as she was born, I was like, oh, I actually don't care anymore.
Really?
I don't care.
And do you ever think like, this is just, I'm talking to myself when I think about having children. I mean, not yet, Ben, don't worry at all. Oh God, he'd like run a mile. I think, how would you cope with having a baby and doing 8 shows a week? Is there a thing that you can do where you can do 4 shows? Or
Yeah, there's now a job share thing, and I think
the industry need that, you know?
Yeah, it's where people do like 4 and 4. And I think there's also, you get to decide sort of amongst yourself whether you do like 1 on 1 off, 1 on 1 off, or whether you do all 4 and then have the next half of the week off.
Are you doing something of that sort with...
No, because I'm stupid.
Okay, so you're going at it full whack.
I'm just, going full
8
throttle,
shows.
8 shows, seeing what happens.
Is Mabel coming with you?
Yeah, it's hysterical. I was tearing my hair out the other day trying to book digs. Because
Okay.
when you're on tour, you've got to book all your own accommodation, and it's it's fun. It's a fun evening.
I'm with you, girl.
And my husband is the most organized person. I'm not. He is so organized to the point where when we went on our honeymoon, I was handed a color-coded itinerary.
Wow.
And I love him for it, because I'm not like that, and I love it.
I'm just laughing because the thought of Ben doing that for me is just fucking hysterical. He is the least organised person on this planet.
But I think it's genius, and it honestly saves us a lot of time. But I was like, right, I'm going to book my digs, and he was like, oh, I've already done half the work for you. Here's some spreadsheets.
Love that. Love language.
So I had a spreadsheet that had potential digs. So he'd like linked all of these digs that, you know, could be like good to stay in, because obviously I need slightly bigger places if Maple's coming with me. And it had a list of where we discussed whether I'm commuting or whether I'm staying, because he'd made note of that and written it all down. I was like, I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, and you can remember that conversation that we had. And there was a column with where Mabel's going to be, because we'd also discussed that, and he'd just, you know, made a note of it on his phone and then put it into a spread. I was like, wow.
But
so
do you
it
know,
came
do you know
to
what
Book of
that
Digs,
is?
I was like, my job's done.
It's teamwork.
Yeah.
That is what you call parenthood.
Yeah.
And being a team. So massive clap for
incredible.
Joel.
He's
wow.
incredible.
Also, I saw him the other day in Hamilton. Hysterical.
He's so funny, isn't he?
It's the second king I'd seen, and by far the best.
My favourite thing about Joel, though, is that no one knows what a phenomenal dancer he is.
Is he a phenomenal dancer?
He is. He was like national tap champion when he was like 16 years old.
It's always the ones you don't expect.
He's a phenomenal, and I love watching people's faces when they see him dance. And he doesn't do it very often, but I've got this video saved on my phone that I love. So I'll send it to you later. It's great.
Okay.
Where he decided to join in with the dancing in the Hamilton warm up, and just watching everyone's like faces around him just go. Like, can't believe how amazing he is. He's so
Imagine
good.
if we just went, and here's Joel.
Yeah, here
and he just
is.
did a tap number.
Brought his tap shoes.
That's so funny. What's my time? Oh, crap. What? Is Q&A? Oh, great. Okay, thank God for that. Honestly, it's so hard. Normally they're just there, but these lights are so blinding. Okay, so you're not only a mother, okay? You're a best-selling novelist. And I was so deep in your YouTube the other day. I was stalking so hard. I loved it.
I'm so sorry.
But you're incredible. You're literally juggling everything. You're doing shows. You've just come off your tour. We need to talk about that.
It's all self-inflicted, though. It sounds impressive, but it's because I can't say no to anything.
I
have a real problem with just going. If an opportunity comes up,
yeah,
that's the thing. If an opportunity comes up where I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing, I say yes before I've actually thought through what that means for my life, and I'm like, oh, I'm never going to sleep again. Fun.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How was the tour? So here I have down you second solo show.
Yeah.
You toured your second solo show, Letters of Love. And do you know what I loved from it? It's a show about showing gratitude towards all type of love.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of make sure it wasn't just about romantic love, because then, you know, it would be so easy just to pull loads of like love songs out of shows and just say, hey, we're just going to have a show about, you know, show dedicated to my husband, but who wants that? So I wanted it to be, and you know, I'd literally just become a mum as well, so I wanted maternal love to be in there, platonic love, you know, love for friends, a love for family. And I feel like once we got the ball rolling and had like all of these creative conversations, and this was one of the great things to come out of Cinderella as well. My director and my MD were my resident director and my MD on Cinderella.
Oh, lovely.
And I loved them so much that I asked them to do this tour, and they did both tours with me, Ben Vantine and Ruthie Stevens. They're just the best. And yeah, once we got those conversations started, we suddenly realized how easy it would be to write a show that was about all kinds of love and taking songs that sound like they're romantic, but then flipping them on their heads and making them about something completely different, and then finding that really worked.
How did you even come up with that concept?
Well, we wanted something that was like broad enough that it wouldn't like, because I mean, I really wanted to do a show about ghosts, because I'm obsessed with Halloween.
Well, we know what her third live show is going to be.
I'm obsessed with Halloween, and you know, theatre has so many ghost stories, and I know the majority of them because it's one of my obsessions. So I was like, oh my God, let's do a show about ghosts, and they were like, we don't think enough people care about ghosts. So find something different, try again.
Go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, and letters is another thing that I love. I love writing letters. I love reading letters. I'm obsessed with like famous letters. And I was like, that kind of feels like broad enough. Like love is such a big concept that, you know, you can have fun with it, but also make it as relatable as people want it to be, and people will connect to the things that they connect to, you know what I mean?
And I read that you used to, in every venue, you picked a letter from an audience member, and you would dedicate a song to that person and whatever their letter was written about. I think that is so special.
It was amazing, and all the letters that came in, there were times when I was like, I need to just pause on reading these letters, because I've cried for like 6 hours just reading all these letters, because people were just so willing to like pour their hearts out, which I was quite shocked by. Like, I'm such an oversharer, but I never expect other people to be equally as oversharing. And I always really appreciate it when people are, because I love it.
But you have got like a trusting aura.
Thank you very much.
Like
That's
a
very sweet of
motherly
you.
aura.
Stop.
Well, you are a mother now, but you do like a maternal
I think
aura.
I've always been like the mum friend. I've always
the
been the
auntie.
person. I hold the tickets. I'll hold the passports.
Okay.
I'm the designated driver.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
I've always been that kind of person.
I get that vibe.
But yeah, I was just sort of so bowled over by how open everyone was. And yeah, it was so difficult to pick just one letter. We could have easily just done a show of like the audience's letters. But the fun thing was is that we had a changing set list every night that the audience picked. So the audience would vote before I went on stage for the letters that they wanted to hear, and each letter had a song attached to it, but the audience didn't know what song they were voting for.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so every day at like 2:00, I'd get the votes through to be told what I'd be singing that night. And then
So
I'd
you
go
knew
and
every song, but and then it would just be, okay.
Yeah, so we basically just rehearsed. I think it was 26 songs, but I'd only be singing 18 every night.
18 songs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I'm really stupid.
Could never be me, but cute. That is tough.
But the fun thing was is that the song that was dedicated to the audience member was different every night as well. So, any song that hadn't been picked for that day meant we had a pool of songs to be picked for the audience.
This isn't on my list, but it's for my own head. Do you ever get vocal fatigue?
Oh my God, yes.
What
yes.
do you do to help?
The only thing you can do is rest.
I know.
And it's so hard because the last thing you want to do is take shows off. But the worst thing is that if you push through, you make yourself worse, and then in the long run end up having even longer off.
So what about on a solo show?
I mean, on a solo show, you just have to tough it out.
Okay.
Because you're only ever doing it for like, we did 14 dates, but it was like 2 shows on, 1 day off, 3 shows on, a day off.
Yeah. So the light at the end of the tunnel's nearer than you think.
And also for a solo show, you can change as many keys as you want.
Oh yeah, gorgeous.
You can do what you like.
male key everything.
Yeah. There were some songs where I was like, let's take that down the octave.
I did a Scott Allen concert the other day, and he played me this song, and I was like, not on my watch. So I actually did sing it in a male key.
Yeah, great.
I was like, you are not paying me enough money to do this.
It blows my mind, though. It blows my mind because I always think of it like with boxing, you have like different weights. You have like featherweight, heavyweight, lightweight, whatever. And you would never expect someone who was a lightweight to box with someone who's in a completely different weight class. But when we've got like altos and sopranos and whatever, you would never, we think it's just normal to have someone, a soprano, sing this thing. And then we like shame them for not being able to do it as well as that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, just change the key.
Yeah.
Just change the key. It's a physical thing. It's not to do with like, oh, that person just hasn't put in the effort. It's like, it's actually a physical thing. That's why we have basses, tenors, altos, sopranos, whatever.
That is so true. That is so true.
So it's really weird that we're just like, oh, well, clearly they're just not good enough. It's like, no, change the key and she'd sound phenomenal.
Insane.
Yeah.
That is the like tagline for today. Carrie Hope Fletcher.
Change the key.
I want to talk about your brother, Tom Fletcher.
Go for it.
Come on, guys. It's Tom Fletcher. Lead vocalist and guitarist in McFly.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Isn't it?
That is so cool.
I found this sound yesterday on TikTok that was like, just like, do you know this McFly song? Of course, I know them all. But I was like having the best time with it because I was like, oh my God, if I wasn't my brother's sister, I'd still be their number one fan. I'd still be like front row tickets to all of their concerts because they're just so good.
They are so good.
They're so good.
I was going to actually ask you if you could get me some tickets. That's fine.
Mate, if I could get tickets, I'd be there every night. Sold out, mate.
I know. What was it like growing up with a brother in the limelight, kind of?
It was great until he was naked on a front cover, and then all of my friends were like, like laughing. I was like, God, that's when it's suddenly weird.
Yeah. Do you think that it prepared you in some way for this industry? Because there are so many similarities.
Yeah, and I also think that even prior to McFly, my brother and I had watched each other be on TV and be on stage. So when Tom got into McFly, I think when it first started, I was like 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But to me, it was like, oh, it's just the next job that he's doing. Yeah, because he'd done adverts, he'd done shows, he'd done jobs like this before. And I was like, oh, it's just the next one. There was nothing in my brain to kind of think that this was going to be any different. So, of course, it was, but
massive.
It was huge. They were on everything. They were on, every every Saturday morning TV show, every magazine, every newspaper. They were literally they exploded. But again, in my head, it was like, this is just a very long contract. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just it's a now 21-year contract.
I love that.
Yeah.
Can I ask something? There's a theory that they were called McFly because of Back to the Future.
Yep. Yeah.
I love that so much. It's true, Ben.
Yeah, it's good. My brother's such a massive, like, he loves Back to the Future. It's like one of his favourite movies growing up. And he told Danny Jones, who's of McFly fame.
Wait, is he in the jungle right now?
Yeah.
I love him. Should we all collectively vote
so
for him
well.
to do a trial?
Oh my God, please.
Because then it will, like, do you know what I mean? Shall we?
But Tom told Danny, was like, I think McFly's a really good name for the band. And Danny wasn't very sold. And Tom was like, but it's Back to the Future. And he was like, nah. He'd never seen Back to the Future. So Tom sat him down and was like, you have to watch this movie. It's one of the best movies ever. And once the movie's done, you're going to want to call the band McFly. And Danny obviously loved it, but what clinched it was the manure truck that Biff drives his car into. On the side of it said D. Jones. D. Jones Manure. And he was like, oh my God,
it's meant to be.
It's fair. We've got to call the band that. So yeah.
I find that when we found that out, we were literally obsessed. Thank you so much. Our conversation is slowly coming to an end and we're going to open up.
I'm well sad. I want to carry on.
Isn't it like therapy?
Yeah.
Honestly, I do not find this a job at all.
Tell me more about Andrew Lloyd Webber. Come on.
I'll get sued. Right, we've got about 15 minutes of Q&As. Let's keep it appropriate, okay? We don't want to ask anything personal. Has anyone got a question? Oh my God. Oh, hi.
Oh, I feel like...
Should I just repeat it? So
yes, go.
What was the hardest song to sing in Heathers?
I think Dead Girl Walking is always a terrifying one because I feel like it's the most anticipated. For anyone who doesn't know, it's a song... It's a sex scene within a song.
All over that.
There's a lot of thrusting. There's a lot of shirts ripping open. And it is a very highly anticipated song. And as soon as it starts, you feel the vibe of the audience completely change, which always was terrifying because you hear people like lean in and like get to the front of their seats like ready to see this sex scene. But also like physically, it's really hard because you're literally like on your knees grinding whilst singing very high. You've also spend the instrumental snogging someone, which you're not thinking about breath control. You're not thinking about anything about like singing. So yeah, that was a really hard song to sing for all the reasons. But I think the hardest song was always I Say No because of how much it meant to the audience. That song has just like resonated with so many people. And I remember there's one night that's like burned into my memory from when we were at the Haymarket. And I sang the song, finished singing the song, and it ends with like just shouting the word no. And I said it and went, no! And this woman in the audience went, yes! And like got to her feet. And I loved singing that song, but also felt the pressure of singing that song because I just could feel how much it meant to certain, and would be told at stage door how much it meant to people as well.
Hard to sing that though.
Yeah, and
really
also
hard.
I felt like the show was like manageable, and then they added I Say No, and I was like, oh, this is ridiculously hard now. Yeah. This is an impossible thing.
Has anyone else got a question? Come on, guys. This is the only... Oh, hello. I love that. Did everyone hear that? That was really good projection. Are you an actor?
Yeah, beautiful.
You should be in the industry.
The Calamity Jane soundtrack, the like all-star studio thing with Debbie Gravitt playing Calamity Jane, and that's on repeat in my car at the moment. But aren't we all listening to the Wicked soundtrack right now? Like, my God. I went to see it the other day, and it's a perfect film. It's a perfect film.
It is a perfect
It's perfect.
Film. Anybody else? Hello.
It's remembering why I wanted to do it in the first place. Whether it's like a song or an album or a show. I mean, I always go back to Les Mis. I always go back to like Colm Wilkinson singing Bring Him Home. Like that's, I could honestly spend another 45 minutes just talking about my love of Les Mis because I love it so much. But just going back to that one thing that makes you feel like the 7-year-old musical theatre fan that you started off as. Because everyone who ends up in theatre, we all started off as theatre kids, as kids who just loved it and wanted to desperately be in it, and saw like as many shows and did Amdram, and all of us are that kid at heart. So it's going back to what used to make me excited then, because it still makes those same things still make me excited now.
And I think like when I was little, it would be like, I do this job for free, you know, and then you get it, you do one job, you go into another job, it gets a little bit stressful, then you're auditioning, and I take myself back to when I would have done it for free, you know. I need to be grateful. And also, do you know what I think we do? I think we finish a job, and then we're like, what's next? Instead of being like, I have just done a year on tour. Like, I want to chill. I want to relax. Like, we don't always have to be, oh, my God, Ben, what happened to us the other day? We bumped into somebody. I didn't know who they were. And, sorry, I'm on a tangent here now. And love her. Don't know who she was, but she was like, none of this, she was like, none of this have an arrest thing. What are you doing next? And I had to like compose myself and say, actually, we are having a well-deserved rest. Both of us have just been working non-stop for 3 years. You know, it's about taking the time out and then going back in when you're ready. You like don't have to constantly be working.
Because also what we do is so like physical, and you get a breakdown at some point. Like bodies don't last forever. There's only a certain point where you can keep that you can keep going at that momentum. You've got to rein it in every now and again.
I know, and you've just earned money. You need to spend it, you know. How are you going to spend it otherwise?
So true, Ben. So true.
Has anybody else got a question? Hello.
Oh, I want Beetlejuice to come over. Just because I love that movie, and I've never seen the show, and so I want to see the show. And I also really want my husband to play Beetlejuice because I think he'd be phenomenal in it.
Casting it as well. Watching it and casting it.
Maybe I'll bring it over. But no, I think it's just, and I also just love Halloween and anything that's a bit spooky, and I just think that show is. I also think that show is so well loved. I don't know why it hasn't come over.
I think mine would be The Outsiders.
Everyone's talking about this at the moment, and I've not listened to it.
Yeah,
Should I? Yes?
Babe.
Yes.
Change your life.
Okay, all right.
Also, I went to see it in New York recently, and sometimes, you know, you can be a bit rookie if you listen to a soundtrack over and over again, and then you go and see the live show, and it's just not quite. It was even better than the soundtrack, wasn't it, Ben? We were obsessed, but I'm dying for that to come. I think it will have the Six and Heathers effect with the females, because it's like, you know, it's like men everywhere. It's like, so good, wasn't it, babe? Okay, have I got one last question? Hello.
If you could create a musical, what would you make it about, and what would you call it?
Oh, I feel like I need much longer than you're going to give me. Oh, God. What would it be about?
This is really difficult.
Really difficult.
I'd like cast all women, no men.
They do complicate everything.
They do. Yeah. Like, even like the techies and everything, all women.
Love it.
And it would like be about, I don't know, maybe like a Marvel, something Marvel-y. I just want to make as much money as possible, and Marvel makes the money, you know.
I'd love to do something about theatre ghosts. I'm obsessed. I'm genuinely
Carrie
obsessed.
and her ghosts. I am literally obsessed.
I love theatre ghosts to the point where at our wedding, our tables were named after theatre ghosts.
Oh my God! Wait, what do you mean by theatre ghosts? Like Arthur's Seat from Edinburgh Playhouse.
Oh yeah,
there's a ghost called Arthur.
Yeah. Like
yeah,
that.
It's like that.
Festival Theatre is the Great Lafayette.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
there's loads.
So is there any in London?
Oh mate, we need a chat.
Oh really?
We need a chat.
Is there one at the Savoy?
I don't know about the Savoy. There's loads at the Drury Lane though. There's one called Joseph Grimaldi, who was like an old like panto clown, and he not panto, vaudeville. That's what I meant, vaudeville clown. And he, if he thinks you're not being funny enough, he will guide you around the stage and move. If, like people have felt themselves be moved into positions because he thinks he's trying to help you be funnier. But he also used to get really bad stage fright. So if you're in the wings and you're nervous, people have felt him hold their hand.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I have a new life goal. That is to be a ghost after I pass.
Yeah. But every one of our tables at our wedding was named after a different theatre ghost.
You really are. You do
I'm
love
obsessed,
it.
mate.
Well, I want to say, Carrie, Thank you so much for coming on.
I thought you were going to bring out a theatre ghost for me then. I was like, oh my God.
Here's Arthur.
It's a seance.
Can we give a huge round of applause to Miss Carrie Hope Fletcher?
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You've come here on a Sunday. I appreciate you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.